Yes, hello. I am James Rowland, and today it's WNR540. It's Halloween Havoc. I'm not alone. It's a pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
What's up? What's up? Excited to be back here, WNR, and talking about NXT, man. Another catch up, kind of in a sense, but just I always feel at home. As much as I love the podcast with everybody else. I always say that, and they're a whole different type of fun. And it's always great to just throw banter around and just talk mess about wrestling with you guys. But these shows are, it's always a little bit extra exciting just because they just remind me of how we started out, and I think that's the beauty of this. But also, we also just covering a great product, if I can say so myself. Like NXT has really just is evolved in so many different ways, so it's kind of cool to recap NXT. It feel like our own little bubble. Like we do WWE, we do AEW, and we open that up to the girls, and that's always fun. I'm appreciative of being a part of them shows, and New Japan too. But for NXT, we kind of keep it back to just us two, and it's got a different type of feel about it. So I'm always excited about these updates.
No, without a doubt. And again, it wouldn't work without you by my side for this. So I appreciate you kind of sacrificing your weekend to do NXT.
Yeah, no problem.
Again, we've got good memories, and I don't want to go too full on when the girls aren't here, just in case it scares you. But like I said, Halloween Havoc with like Gargano and Priest and the history. That was the first time we kind of really clicked, and like I said, it's been 4 years since. So.
And they flew by, and like you said, the shows have only gotten funner. Even when the product wasn't good, we found a way to have a good time with it. So I think. Yeah, man, this is special, and you're right. You don't want to go too far. I also don't want the girls to hear this and be like, "Wow, they really hate us." Like, no, we don't. We don't hate you. We don't hate you if you're listening, girls. But yeah, no. Excited, and this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, without doubt. So we've got 4 episodes on this update and Halloween Havoc, but we start with an email I got, which started, Dear James, on January 1st, 2025, W Network will no longer be available in your area. After January 1st, Netflix will be the new exclusive home of WWE. It will bring WWE's electrifying content all to one place, including weekly shows, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, plus premium live rates, such as WrestleMania, Rumble, and SummerSlam. And many of WWE's top moments, along with historic PLEs and select programs, will be available beginning January 1st. Sincerely, WWE Network support. So, I'm just going to say it here. I mean, it's great to get a win. Like when the WWE Network or WWE in specific try to shut us down for being network affiliated, then I just love it, Monty. You know what I'm like when it comes to this stuff. But I am worried, and I might do it again. Amount of extra pods I've got planned, but it's how I beat the network, But anyway, it's not about me. It's the thing is, I'm worried a few programs that are going to go missing from this. Stuff like we've had, like from the Vault or anything like this. For me, like Legends of Round Table, and there's a couple other series. I don't think Netflix will carry it all. So Monty, I'll say I'm biased, because you weren't there, man, when they tried it, I don't think. So, like, it was bad.
Right.
It is a shame the network's ending because we are going to lose more content, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I wasn't there when they tried to shut you down, so I don't have, like you said, the beef, maybe. But I definitely I was one of those people, bro, when they first announced it, because I was a fan for a long time who had to pick and choose where I was, and I'm kind of like that. I'm not so much like that anymore. Now that I got my own income, so I can pick. I can usually watch most AEW shows, all of them. If I want to pay for it, I will, or I can find another way. But when I was younger or growing up in WWE, I was a guy who paid $60 and I had to pick and choose. Like, all right, WrestleMania, I'm most likely going to be able to buy. I'm going to save my money up for WrestleMania and buy it. Royal Rumble, I'm also going to buy it because that's just one of my favorite shows. But like some of these other B pay-per-views, I might just have to wait on the results or actually watch the Raw and see what happened that next day or whatever. So when they announced it way back in 2014, I think that's when they went public, because I think that was WrestleMania 30, right, or whatever, or going, yeah. So I remember it like it was yesterday. I couldn't wait to subscribe because it was just they kept hammering home $9.99, and and I watched 30. I remember like yesterday, man, coming home and watching Undertaker lose, and I couldn't believe it. And from that moment on, and just like you said, all the content, like the live streaming was cool. That's one thing. Getting that for $9, that was awesome. But like you mentioned, the way they kind of just would pepper in great content. WW24 comes to mind. I remember they had the little like punk. I think it was called Swerves, I guess, but the little punk type of paper little thing, or Legends House. Like they came out of the box swinging. Yeah. They came out swinging when they initially probably, but like you mentioned, some of the best things besides watching old wrestling pay-per-views, which I also love because I kind of rewatched a lot of stuff that I didn't get a chance to see live growing up from WCW. I pretty much rewatched their whole run from Nitro from '96 to 2001 on the network. So I got that kind of special memory from having the network. But like you mentioned, the vault and just having Legends of Wrestling or the roundtable discussions about the old days from territories and and all of that type of stuff. To have all of that content, just at your fingertips at any time was just it was definitely, if you felt spoiled, and it was just some awesome idea that I guess you can say WWE even at the time kind of saw where the world, because now we have WWE networks, we have streaming services everywhere, and that's how you get to Peacock, and that's how you get some of the Netflix deal and all this stuff that we see now. So I'm with you. I really do think it would be unfortunate if we lose some of that old vault stuff, which I'm just like you. I think most likely they won't be taking everything, which in my opinion kind of sucks. But I understand because you're Netflix, you have a huge library already. You have licensings that you probably have to pay for and keep up to date for other stuff too. So that's part of just kind of consolidating and going into that type of situation. But man, I can only imagine what it feels like for you guys, because we kind of had to get over the network. I don't know exactly. I don't know how long it's been with Peacock. Well, it's been like 3-4 years. I don't know exactly how long it's been with Peacock, but we kind of already said our goodbyes to the network in a sense. And even though a lot of that stuff is still available on Peacock, it really sucks that we've been kind of feeling the ripple effects of this, because they already stopped kind of producing content at the rate they used to. They had top 10 lists. They had all types of just content that they were releasing at a point in time that made the network just very, very valuable for wrestling fans. I even think what AEW is doing with HBO Max is inspired by it, but I don't even think it's going to be to the extent that we kind of had with WWE, with all that original content and just the vault of stuff that they had on hand. So I'm gonna look back on it very nostalgically, but I am also excited for the Netflix now.
Yeah, I mean, because this is the thing. I found an old hard drive the other day, and you know what was on it, along with wrestling. And again, with the wrestling, it was all, ECW, WCW stuff, the documentaries, all these other bits and pieces. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want that to happen again. WWE DVD, or wherever it was, Silvervision in the UK,
that's true,
for years. They're not producing DVDs anymore. I'm probably one of the few people that would pay like £5 or even maybe £10 a month just to have access to all
just
of
to keep having this stuff.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I agree.
Like you said, if I'm bored or want something completely different, I'll put like a WCW pay-per-view on and kind of, reminisce of the old days, even though I wasn't a part of it, because I was, a few years out, and, it's like you said with the ECW stuff as well, and everything else. Like, I love the network. That's why I started the fucking podcast doing it, and talking about each show that was on. And again, like I said, just my only worry is that it will just get split and we'll lose content, and it will only be like, Attitude Era stuff, because that's what
that's the popular one.
The main fans like, and
right.
we'll lose like, stuff from, I don't know,
like that old, like old
right?
AWA, yeah. They got so much stuff, so I agree. And it's funny that you mention it, because I feel like that's what we're going through just in life. Us older people, Now, if you lived at a certain time, like preservation is a big deal in a lot of media right now when it comes to video games because everybody buying video games digitally. So like, you're not even when you buy a game online, you don't even really own it. You're really just licensing it. If it's an online game, they can take it off the servers whenever they want, and you can't access it anymore, even though you paid money for it. And it's such a weird dynamic, but it's the same thing with music. If you stream music instead of buying music or whatever, like right now in media. So I kind of get what you're saying because we were spoiled to have it, but it's like you mentioned, it's not like when we were younger. When I was young, I grew up. The reason why WWE Network is right up my alley, I'm pretty sure just like you, sound like just like you. The WWE Network is right up my alley because I grew up buying the ladder match DVD, and it had a whole compilation of a bunch of ladder matches. Or I grew up buying the biographies about certain wrestlers and listening to them tell their stories. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels DVD come to mind, or some of them Austin ones. So
the Rey Mysterio one where you could see like the WCW stuff before. Do you know what I mean? It's weird.
Exactly, the clips. Yeah. Or you can see, like again in Austin, when my very first time seeing Austin with hair was watching a Stunning Steve match. He put on one of his DVDs. So exactly. So like when you had that and you could just go to the store and pick it up, you at least still had it. But now if they, like you said, if they decide to wipe certain things and they don't move it anywhere else, they're just gonna get rid of the vault or whatever, or just hold on to that content. I really think that's a disservice. So I don't know exactly what the plans are. It'd be nice if we can get at least a big chunk of that stuff on Netflix, but it'll be like you mentioned. It was a streaming service by itself enough of worth of content. So it's kind of crazy to expect Netflix to upload all of that content. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. And again, not moving on from it, again, it's like wrestling documentaries, and especially if you're a fan of, Beyond the Mat. When's the last time you saw that streaming anywhere? Do you know
exactly?
Or, there's certain things where you go, oh, I remember that, but you just don't see it anymore. So hopefully it doesn't happen. And again, network, I'm sad, but but sometimes, David beats Goliath. Anyway. It's not about me. It's about NXT. And we're going to get straight on with Halloween Havoc. We're going to try and go back now where we left 27th of October. And the kickoff was Megan Morant and Sam Roberts in studio. Sarah Schreiber interviewed Obafemi. We got to sit down with Julia and Stephanie Vaquer. I should say as well, maybe people listen for didn't listen to last month's. We've just got to Halloween Havoc. And I should maybe set the stage a little bit before, Monty, but hey, who knows? And it's NXT is now on the CW, so kind of a big deal. And like I said, we're going to deal with it like that. Scarlett and Shotzi in the Chamber of Horrors, which again is something that we should be seeing on TV. Fatal Influence confirms it's 3-on-1 versus Kalani Jordan. I mean, this might have helped before predictions. I'm just saying.
Man, it would have been nice, right?
Just saying, sit down with Cora and Rox. Ridge interrupts Bully. Ridge tells Bully, or Bubba, as he's known, because he's got the trademark back for that one night, then I suppose. They get into it, and you're like, oh, no. I mean, just at that point, you kind of go, oh, no. We knew the ECW show was coming up in a couple of weeks.
I just don't know if it's funny to me. I love WWE, but like you have a relationship with Impact. Whenever I see Bubba without Diva, he's Bully. I'm sorry, he's Bully Ray without Diva. I mean, we could at least acknowledge it, but I get it. They do it. It was more so because of ECW. It had nothing to do with his Impact stuff. But yeah, man, it's just funny to see him. And they just say, "Oh, Bubba Ray Dudley." It's like, when was Bubba by himself ever? The intimidating. But go ahead.
If you're not a fan of Bubba, you're not going to enjoy the next kind of half hour. I'm just going to
say. Great point. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, come back. The main show, Gigi Dolan gave a great opening video and proved she hasn't been released, which is always the worry, isn't it? When we don't see him for a while. But Gigi is fine and apparently back in action.
Yeah, I also heard she's doing live events, so it's excellent to see that she's back. My daughter wants to blow me a kiss, I guess. I don't know what. But yeah, thank you. But anyway,
She's a fan of Gigi Dolan.
Yeah, I guess she likes Gigi. I don't think she's ever seen her, but she likes her. But yeah, man, I have to say it was great to see her because I was curious. Was it an injury thing? Like, cause remember when she kind of left, it was out of nowhere with the whole Ariana Grace thing that they were trying to tease. And I didn't mind where it seemed like they were possibly going. Remember, we kind of got left. Like they just kind of left it off because it's like we're gonna get a brand new Gigi look, and maybe she's gonna be pageant ready Gigi, and nope, she's just gone. So it's cool to see her back from that point of view, and it'd be nice to see that now since they gave up doing anything different with Jay, they just put her in a faction. What did they decide to do with Gigi whenever she gets back and going? It'll be interesting to see. Do they give up and throw her in a heel faction?
You just know Shotzi and Gigi Dolan are kind of fated to tag at some point.
What a tag team, yeah.
It's just
100%.
Anyway, we start with North American Championship. Tony D'Angelo versus Obafemi, and Oba was confident in the table, ladders, and scares match until the family arrived to help. Rizzo lured Femi out in the apron, allowing the Don to spear the ruler through a ladder. Challenge Stax, Lorenzo, and Luca Cristofino hit a wild steel chair sitter shat machine on Femi. The ruler was unable to deal with the numbers game and fell after a spinebuster from the Dom through a table. I mean, Monty, what are your thoughts on this? And what was the point of Obafemi completely fucking up the family if they were just going to show up?
That was my issue. I think they got cold feet looking back. When you think about it, I think they really got cold feet. Is about, do we want to give? We already gave Tony the big win. Do we want to give Tony a win with a win in a non DQ type of match without the family? Because that would do wonders for Tony. But at the same time, Oba gotta take another clean loss, and this time with no one even around. And I think they kind of got cold feet about going that far. And letting Oba get pinned, not only get pinned twice, but get pinned in that fashion. So because he had been such a menace to the entire family, they decided to wrap it up with him losing because of the family, which I get. It was cool. And like I said, I like both guys. I thought that once again, it was a little fun. It was definitely fun, but it was also kind of weird to me because, like you mentioned, not only was it weird to me that the family was still such a factor and the reason pretty much why Oba failed. It was also the reason that, after one comment, and I get it, maybe this is the plan all along, I didn't like that pretty much the nail breaker, the one that really put the nail in the coffin had to be Izzo, which I like her. I really do. But just from his one comment that came off of misogynistic, it just felt like, yeah, that's going to come back to bite him. And I'm just like, it don't really make much sense because of like that would be the thing that make the difference. It's fine though. I don't think it was bad, and I also believe to an extent because they decided to go right back. I think you better off just letting Oba lose his belt and move on. In my opinion, I don't think this was bad by any stretch, and I get the story. But once the Rocky moment happened, this could have just been over. Oba moves on to intimidating and terrorizing somebody else, and it is what it is. Because as good as this did, I don't know. I guess this gave it a final, this is finality for this feud. But to me, it was over once you did the whole Rocky stick. And I don't think they really necessarily needed to do this. But, I also understand putting Oba on this card because everybody wants to watch more Oba. So I'm not mad at that either.
No, without doubt. And, I mean, the thing is, there's a lot to kind of unpick. The thing is, like, you got a ladder there. You've got an easy way out for Femi getting pinned. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
No one
you don't have to protect him. You didn't have to protect him. Like that's why you do the stipulation in my estimate. If you remember when we were predicting it, me and you both said it's this type of match because he's gonna take a big fall or something. Maybe they decided to do what we thought of, and he was afraid of heights. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but like you're 100% right. I just felt like for a finale. That was it was mid. It was kind of a soft finale. So if you're gonna give me that finale in the stipulation match, then you might as well just live with him winning the Rocky match.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, if Obafemi's, going to get in trouble for being horrible to Rizzo, then I'm in trouble with what I've said to Jack C in the past 4 years. But I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
One thing though, we say, might not have helped Oba much, but this has sure helped Tony D because he got a great response and now was seen as more serious, which I suppose was NXT's end goal for this.
And that's the biggest thing. That if your overall goal was to make Tony D feel like a bigger deal or up his stock, which is really funny when you think about how long Tony's been here compared to how long Over has actually been on our television screen. It's funny how one guy helped the other, but he's the younger guy. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think that's where the difference comes in to me was the fact that overall, if you don't like anything about this feud, you can at least say Tony D feels like a legit champion and a legit, not more than just a character now. And I think that's the biggest positive.
Yeah, without doubt. And like you said with Oba, he can move up or move on. Just have him involved, really. I mean, I wouldn't mind him smashing Ridge or Brooks Jensen before he does get the call out. Like, I wouldn't mind watching that match.
He's ready, man. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, I think we're gonna have another Braun Breaker situation though, to where we're looking at him 5 months down the line, and we like, bro, you can go, right? You don't have to be here any longer, right? You've been ready.
They've all got Stockholm syndrome. They're all just right. They love Sean so much. Sean's like, no, you've got the red cap now. It means you're on Raw. He's like, I don't want to go.
I don't want to go.
What would you score it then to start us off?
I give it 3 3/4. I thought it was good, but again, the spots were decent and all that. But like I said, the booking and the decision making going into it just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, no, I went for. Didn't think it was too bad. Predictions with WNR Prediction League 2024. This is after Wrestle Dream, which again seems so long ago, and before Halloween Havoc. It all makes sense in the end. Bonus League, Monty has won. Come on, 23. Gina's on 15, I'm on 14, Jaxie on 11. The WWE one, Monty and James are on 5 each. Gina on 4, Jaxie on 2. In AEW, James, Jaxie, Monty on 3, Gina on 2. Jaxie went Oba, Monty and I went the Don, and Gina went for Tiny D'Angelo, which I guess I should accept. I think that just proves our point sometimes. Jackson's on 0. The rest is on 1. We got an interview with Lexus King. He can't find a corner man. Mr. Eagle offered his help for the Heritage Cup match on Tuesday. I mean, he's not going to turn on him. He's not going to turn on him. There's no way. Not happening. Up next, Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade versus Julia and Stephanie Vaquer. After a back-and-forth battle, Julia fought off Doomsday Device and then blasted Perez with a suplex followed by a spiral tap from Stephanie for the win. What were your thoughts on this, Monty? Because there was a lot going on, but again, it was more enjoyable rather than writing notes.
Yeah, man, I didn't even, like you mentioned, that's a great point because the only really real note that I remember taking was just how well everybody looked in this match, just how good everybody flowed. I mean, even they did a good job also of Cora Jade because the fact that it's been a long time for her, and she was really the one. I think I'm going into this match. I mentioned I really wanted to see could she keep up, and I didn't mean that as like disrespect to Cora, but mostly because she's had a couple serious injuries, and whenever you have serious injuries like that, and you're in the ring with people like Julia and Stephanie, and even Roxanne at this point, we talk about it all the time. The quality of wrestling from those three, I'm worried. It's not even just Cora Jade I'm worried about. I'm worried about a lot of the division, and can they match the talent and the technical expertise? And Cora didn't look like she stood out to me. She looked like she did well and she fit in, especially considering what she had to go through. And I think they put together a really fun contest from all 4 women. And I think Stephanie got a chance to shine, as this is probably the biggest spotlight a lot of people, beside if you're not watching weekly television, but you tune in to PLE, this may have been one of your first time seeing Stephanie. And I think they did a great job showcasing what makes her so special, and her doing the spinal tap at the end, there was also a nice way to finish it and wrap it up. She pins the champion. She looks legit, and she's special. And I'm not gonna act like I'm the most familiar with Stephanie prior to a lot of her stuff with Mercedes and a little bit of the stuff I've seen her do in New Japan Strong and just sometimes on those crossover shows in the past. But same thing with I'm more familiar with Julia. And even Julia again in this situation looked great also. But Stephanie just came away from me. I felt like out of all four, they went into this knowing that they should put Stephanie kind of on a pedestal because this is going to be some people's first time watching her. And I thought the way the match came together was expertly executed because even though Stephanie looked like a shining star, nobody looked bad. Nobody looked like they don't need to be in the conversation for top 5 in this division. And I felt like these four really did a great job. And this was some of the most fun I had watching. Looking back,
I'm glad Steph got the win, like you said as well, and Jade did look good. There was a rookie ref, or Booker pointed out. I reckon he's bilingual. Because again, it would just make it easier transition rather than, kind of learning in that way. And again, about the match, I didn't mind the placing as it gave Trick a chance to breathe. Because again, for me, this was like the main event, but you didn't want the placing right before Trick, did you?
No, and we kind of mentioned that before when they put Julia and when they put that prior match that Roxanne had. I don't even know if that was Julia. That might have been Jada, but whoever it was right, not too far away from where the main event was. And Roxanne has been doing what the women's division since they become such a focal point of the show in a lot of ways. I'm with you. It'd be smart to put the people with this type of star power. Put this earlier. To be honest, I was thinking at the time like should have this went first based on how the finish of the first match, because I felt like that would have had the show, the crowd, and everybody would have been just bombed. But at the same time, you probably run the risk of having one of your best match first. So I get that, but this is really good. It still might have been. I have to think back, but at the time, I think I put my match of the night. So we'll see if my rating says that.
We'll say as well before we get the score, NXT roster does Halloween best. Jade and Rox just like twins from The Shining in this matchup, and like I said, the whole roster as a whole. But it's been that way for a couple of years now as well.
Yeah, man, the dedication, man, they're on point. They're on point with that, and they always have a lot of fun with it. I feel like even as somebody, because I'm not even the biggest Halloween guy, but just watching other people make fun of it, make it out fun, and like you said, it's pretty much a yearly tradition at this point for us to kind of marvel at the gear or marvel at the things that they decide to do. Even in the skits that's not related to the wrestling. So
yeah,
they do a great job.
I mean, how can we forget Metaphor's Haunted House last year?
Yeah,
I mean, you just
come on, man.
Things to mind.
Metaphor or I Miss You, Cameron Grimes, and Dexter.
That does seem like a lifetime ago. Another scary sight, though, was Zaraya, was shown afterwards in the audience, just staring down everyone and seeing who she's going to take out next. So out of 5, then, Monty, what would you give it?
Yeah, man, like I said, this was really a candidate for best match of the night. Really good. I gave it 4.5. It was, I don't know what could have made this much better than it was based on my expectations coming in, because I think highly of it, pretty much everybody in this match. And so, yeah, I gave it 4.5. That might, I don't know what else to say. It was really fun.
No, I gave it 4.5 as well. All went faces. So Jaxie's on 1, the rest are on 2. I don't normally pay attention to the videos in between, but Boogerman in a box was hilarious, especially Bianca Belair. That's what we need for Halloween.
That was great.
Cedric Alexander and John Evans agreed to play fair in the NXT Tag Team Championship match against Nathan Fraser and Axiom. We got Dave shouting again, and Bubba Ray says Ridge making a name for himself. Then we get the ambulance match, Andre Chase versus Rich Holland. Now, I saw the ambulance as part of the set, and I wouldn't assume that was the ambulance that would be used. But again, it is Halloween Havoc, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, it's definitely a choice.
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting. I must say, interesting.
Well, Andre Chase then he put Ridge Holland with the most energised offence, but the British star, and I use that word very, very lightly, he powered out the ambulance and then used it to knock out the Professor. Holland finished Chase with a redeemer on the floor to set up an easy throw into the vehicle. I mean, what are your thoughts?
You know? Yeah, go ahead, come to me.
Yeah.
This match dragged, man. It really did. It was I think the worst thing is that for some reason as much work as Sean doing, and we're gonna talk about Ridge coming up more. So the fact I understand you're putting a lot into this, Sean, but the fact that this match is about just as long as the North American title match and the Devil's Playground match is just a crime. And I get it; it's an ambulance match, so maybe I should expect expect it to kind of drag. But like I mentioned, the match before this was roughly around the same time, about 14 minutes itself. But like you said, it was fast. It was faster paced. It was just the energy was there. And I give Andre Chase mostly credit because I know he was working hard. The crowd was really into it. And Ridge, like I said, I'm not gonna say he's not trying. I think he gets killed on the internet for just not being interesting. Yeah, and I do think he's trying. I just think anybody who can see that, man, he looks great. He got the look, he's strong. He's just like they say, what they used to say, charisma vacuum. That's what it is. It's just he has nothing that keeps you wanting to look. We've seen big guys do something special. He doesn't have anything special in his moveset. He doesn't he doesn't come off as extra minute. We've been more menacing guys than him, and so he doesn't get you there. You know, so it's just tough sometimes, and I don't want to brag on him any more than anybody else does. But this match just wasn't really. It just didn't click for me, and even though I didn't have the highest expectations. So I didn't kill it. I thought it was like 3.5 would probably be a fair rating for it. But yeah, man, just one of those. It was just a match. I thought nothing came off as too impactful. And yeah, I mean the story to me, I've been waiting. I kind of knew based on some of the story beats and where I felt like based on where we are with Ridge Holland in his career that he probably was going to have to come out on top for the sake of where he's at, because I felt like if he lost this, then it's like, oh well, what do you do with him now? Because he can't even successfully put the school teacher out. But yeah, man, I thought they did their best, and that's what I'll say. I give it 3.5. They worked hard, but it just was kind of a boring match.
Yeah, the issue is Ridge has no presence, and again, we're not going to get onto it. I said he tries, he does. It's just not there. Like you said, whatever it is, he has
whatever.
To get it.
Right.
Being called a throwback, is not a good thing when you compare it to like shitty 80s wrestlers. Like, I don't know if you watched the product, but it wasn't very good.
It wasn't always good. Yeah.
But again, NXT has this thing of like Lars Sullivan or name X monster here, where they will try as hard as they can until it falls. And this is a problem, that the crowd were more interested in wanting pumpkins than they were about the result of this matchup, And again, Holland came out in a unique mask, which again did nothing. Chase was wearing Freddy Krueger colours. But again, like I said, I mean, I'm going to give it, 3.5? I don't think there's much else to be said.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah, you hit it, man. I think that again, that's the issue, and I can't wait to talk. We're gonna talk about it more, but as we preview some stuff coming up, that's the thing about Reeves. But we'll go.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
Yeah, this is how we're going to end the show, boys and girls. All right.
Right.
But predictions: Gina went Chase, Jaxie went Chase you guy. We went Ridge. So the boys went 3, Gina on 2, Jaxie on 1. Fraxham again argued about their strategy for the total defense. Ava and Sarah Schreiber talked about future NXT contests, including the first match in the ECW arena, which was Dana Parker versus Lola Vice, with special guest referee Dawn Marie. Let's see how much she does. Up next, Women's North American Championship Gauntlet, Kalani Jordan versus Fatal Influence. Jordan took out Jasmine Nix first with a 450. JC Jane had a better showing against the Women's North American champ, but Jordan caught with a bridging pin for a surprise fee. Fallon Henley took advantage of a weakened Jordan while getting extra help from Jane and Nix, allowing her to hit a Shining Wizard. And your new North American champion is Fallon Henley. She tried to gloat afterwards, but Zariah arrived to lay out all the Fatal Influence. So at least it ended all right.
Yeah. Gave us something to care about at the end there. Also, we kind of predicted that part. We just didn't. We just thought that she would get involved before. We knew that she was going to kill her Fatal Influence, though. For some reason, we got that right. But anyway, yeah. I remember one thing I thought when I saw Fallon Henley win is that was literally the name of the three I picked out, who I saw that they would give a championship to, because I was like, well, I doubt Sean believes in JC Jane, because again, let's put her in the same role. She hasn't changed pretty much at all since leaving Fatal, the first Fatal attractive group, and and I knew the other girl was a little bit too new, and I'm just like, so what about Fallon? Fallon is decent enough in the ring, and if you want to do something here to just change the belt, that would probably be the gut person. And it went basically how I seen it. I just didn't have the balls to really go with it, because going into it, like you mentioned, we kind of was. I don't know what the hell how they kind of did it, because they kind of wanted us to think it was gonna be a handicap, but they wasn't really clear about it either. So it was weird, but it was still fine. I'm not gonna lie, this is a perfect microcosm of her reign, and I like Kalani. I think athletically she has a future, and she's great in the ring. But it's one thing, and I know her and Melo. It's one thing I want to really like her, because that is Melo's girl. But if it's one thing she doesn't have that Melo had in Dro, same thing with Trick, is that presence, that personality that we talk about, and that's something that's gonna come. Like, that's the thing about being a D1 athlete. Some of them got it, like we mentioned. Obviously Trick, or like Braun or whatever. Some of them have a personality underneath all that athletic talent. But when you recruit, or when you sign a wrestler because of their athletic potential, that doesn't mean it's going to translate into them being able to tap into a character right away. And I think that's what she needs. That's what will make her future title reign, that she probably will get better and longer. And I think that's basically what I could take away from it. I think the reason why she's not champion anymore is because we kind of talked about it. Like, they ran out of things they could stories, or what they could do with a character like Kalani in that position. She's probably going to be more interesting chasing the Fatal Influences of the world. And like I mentioned also, Fatal Influence needed a win. They kind of been getting their ass kicked since they formed, so it kind of made sense from that perspective too. But the reason why I didn't go with it in predictions is because, again, I just thought that it was too many question marks for me to go ahead and predict a title change. And I definitely didn't know at the time. I wasn't sure who would be the person they would choose. But, it is what it is. What did you think about it? I heard a lot of people killing this, and
No,
I understand. But,
I mean, this wasn't bad, I mean, fair play to Fallon. Just shows if you drop the dead weight in the Brooks Jensen, you win a title. So look for Josh Briggs being successful in 2025.
What the hell is Josh Briggs, by the way?
Yeah, fuck knows. I'm sure he'll show up at some point. But again, Kalani Jordan should always be the first, and we'll know more when she turns heel, because, again, as we've seen, when given the correct time, you get a face and you get a heel run. So we'll see if Jordan can bring a little bit more there. And plus, Monty, as we're going to speak about, with the influx of faces and top-tier talent coming in at the moment, Jordan's got to be like, okay, I might have to change it up a little bit.
I might have to switch it up. Yeah.
And again, Fatal Influence are there just to, be free hills, basically. That's what they do. So, but again, future does look brighter. What are you going to give it out of 5?
I give it 3 3 3/4. My biggest gripe, if I have one against it, is that you probably could have did this on at the end of a weekly episode. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3.25. Predictions, well, we all went Jordan, and it will give us a point because, as Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But I won't give us a perfect score. So Boys on 4, Gene on 3, Jack Seat on 2. Tony D interviewed, and he gives a big shout-out to Riz. And Rizzo wants Lions. We'll see what happens there. Dave kills the crowd, but luckily Vic Joseph is there to bring it back. He's got time. He's walking through the set. Booker gets the life scared out of him by Tatum Paxley. She was still in the crate a whole update ago, Monty. She has been in the crate for a whole update. Can you believe that?
If I'm supposed to believe them, no bath, just raw.
I forgot I left her in a crate when we finished last month. Oh my God! Don't worry, she spun the wheel and got a casket match with Wendy Chu on Tuesday.
Yay!
Head to the main event, NXT Championship, Devil's Playground, Trick Williams versus All Ego Ethan Page. Trick planted a pumpkin on Page's head and battered him. The crowd shouted, "Whoop that pumpkin!" into line. Page poured out a bag of nuts and washes to use as weapons. Obviously, meant to be thumbtacks, but we can't do them. All Ego sent Trick face first into steel steps, causing Williams to bleed from his mouth. It is NXT, guys. What are you expecting? Page then caught Trick when Ego's edge for the announce table, but it was great. The NXT champion refused to quit low and caught Ego with a trick shot to win. Afterwards, Ridge Holland laid out Trick with the help of Page. Bubba Ray Dudley arrived to make the save. Before that, what were your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of the criticism about this match, where at the time I remember I wrote this down, that people probably are going to say this isn't like takeover worthy. And I get it. I think it's not fair, in my opinion, a little bit to kind of judge Trick from that standard, because I think people are forgetting who were in a lot of those takeover main events. Not to say that anything bad about Trick, but like you had the Garganos, you had the Ciampas, you had the Adam Coles, you had Kevin Owens, or even depending on how far you want to go back or what era we're talking about. But most of those guys were already veterans at a certain style when they were in those main events, and Trick and a lot of the newer talent, and not, again, I'm not saying he couldn't do better, but a lot of times I think we've seen Trick be at his best against certain types of talent. And I don't think Ethan Page was bad. I think Ethan Page is great. I just don't know if him and Trick meshes the best. But at the same time, this match was a great main event for a lot of the story beats that they tried to throw in there, like the bleeding from the mouth. I like that element, especially if you think about the promos that Page gave. And I thought it was a lot of fine spots. I just think Trick Williams, in my opinion, as a wrestler right now, is a moments type of guy, or a big spot type of wrestler. And the in-between stuff, the psychological and the in-between stuff, technically, is the type of thing that he probably needs to work on. So when he's in there with a guy who does a more technical and not just a let's go out there and let's go kick each other's ass type of style, because that's another thing. Trick has a brawler style too that works well too. So when he's going in there with a guy who's more technical, more of a showman in a way with Ethan Page, it doesn't always flow the best. But I still thought this was good. I just didn't think that it was like, oh my goodness, like, did you see that last match type of stuff that we got from other NXT champions? And but I thought the match was good. I liked the story that they told. I gave it like a 4 overall, but I think if you're just trying to compare it to the standard of other main events, I wouldn't necessarily say this was up to that standard, but I actually know the reasons why.
Yeah. But I will say this, because we love Trick, but I'm going to give Page some credit because he's been a really great heel. Bumps around, not afraid to look stupid or silly. I mean, it worked for Kurt Angle. I mean, maybe the Miz would be a better comparison.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Ceilings and everything like this. My only issue with the match itself, I mean, stuff like the chair around the throat to the ring post used to write wrestlers off for like months.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, why are you moaning about that? a pile driver has taken Randy Orton out now. So if we're going to do that, let's kind of have a bit of synergy. Do you know what I mean? Like, chair around the throat. But again, the rope break was a nice touch. Referee
that was
forgetting,
great.
oh, no, and we haven't seen a blood capture in a while. And we knew ECW would fit in somewhere with a show in 2 weeks. But I think this was the issue with Havoc maybe overall. Like, it felt it was kind of in the middle of the big debut on CW and, of course, the ECW show with everything else going on,
Yeah, and I think that's why I didn't really give off the PLE vibe to me the entire time, which I think is probably my biggest indictment of the show. That sometimes it just felt like a themed episode of NXT instead of a PLE. Other than like the tag match, you can say every match on here, and even the tag match, it could just be one of the best main events in NXT regular television. But yeah, like for the most part, this didn't feel like a PLE because, like you mentioned, we knew we had things coming up, and like you said, we just had the big CW show that felt kind of like those big CW debuts that felt like 2 pay-per-views basically. So I give them a break, I guess, because you kind of need to have like uh, a step down from the bigger events, but at the same time, this is a PLE, so we do got to hold it to a standard.
Well, yeah, because this is the thing. This is always going to be someone's first PLE, And
right?
If it's them watching NXT first time, they're going, "What the fuck are these guys talking about?" Like,
Exactly.
But
this is no different than what I watched the other day on TV.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So,
for me, the main event was a 4 1/4. Predictions, you all went trick. So final scores: Jackson on 3, Gina on 4, Monty and James on 5. But we only get a point. So Monty on 24 now. But I'm tied with Gina, which does help there. Overall, I mean, match of the night was both the women's tag. So what was your MVP? Who's your MVP? And what's your score out of 10?
Yeah, I wrote my score out of 10 and my MVP down. Which is cool. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So my score to start it off was a solid 7 3/4. I thought it was a good show, fun to watch because again, there's one thing about I try to think about presentation too and just how it felt watching, and that I take that into account for these PLEs, also not just the wrestling. And I thought the one thing NXT always kind of have going for it is that when it's a clear Sunday or Saturday night and you just cut on an NXT show and you just watch it, they flow really well, and you kind of get in and get out of there having an enjoyable time. But like you mentioned, the most memorable thing on the show for me will always be the tag. Pretty much everything else, like I mentioned, wasn't really the best, so I wouldn't go too far rating it so high. But my MVP easily for me, I wrote down Stephanie Valkyrie. I just felt like all the ladies really deserve it, in my opinion. All 4 of those ladies in that match can get the MVP and share it. But like I mentioned earlier, Stephanie shined. Stephanie was the person who kind of, in my opinion, if you didn't know much about her time overseas in Mexico or the multitude of places she's been wrestling, if you didn't know much about her, you got introduced to what she can do in this setting, in this spotlight, and she threw on a move that she hasn't even been able to use on the independents to even, make her even feel even more unique in this new setting. So, yeah, man, I love where we're at in the women's division, and I think right now, at this moment of the watching Halloween Havoc, the Julia, Stephanie, Zariah, of course, the women's champion Roxanne, that part, and having Cora there too, that part of the women's division, and even if you want to throw in some of the stuff Jada Parker has been doing, is really like head and shoulders above pretty much almost everything else they got going right now. And I think Stephanie being the MVP is a great example of this.
I'm going to give the show an 8 1/4. Like I said, one of the weakest NXTs of the year. MVP for me is Fallon Henley, of course, winning her first singles gold. Yeah. So, women get MVP and match of the night as well from us, so we are so woke. Moving on to October 29th, NXT Tatum Paxley interrupted the Halloween Havoc montage, indicating the event was not done until the casket match. Paxley ruled out a massive casket. It was like what the ambulance should have been, the size of the casket, if you know what I mean. Well, Truett came out with an entire bed, because why not? Both were in costume. Paxley is Alice from Alice Madness Returns, and Truett is Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Paxley was fighting from behind throughout a wild brawl, but she managed to send Wendy Chu off the casket through a bed with a fire extinguisher. The impact left Chu vulnerable to throw in the casket to lose. This was just great stuff, and I'm sure you're going to say the same thing as I am as well, so I might let you.
Why the hell this wasn't on the card?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh my God, man, this was so good. Like, and they put a lot of effort into it, so it just kind of made me kind of frustrated watching it. That it was like, this is definitely something that could have made the card. And I know we got the title change and Fallon got that moment, but like that could have been replaced, or hell, I don't know. I'm just saying, make an extra spot. Give us a pre-show match for a change that was this fun. Like, this was great, and it deserved to be on the card. It definitely would have picked up my score, because they just went out there and they threw everything at each other, and they had some stuff that you probably would consider and be like, I don't know if they should do that. And they went out there and they did it, and it looked good. You know what I'm saying? So kudos to both women. Kudos to Paxley. Wendy needed a big match, in my opinion, too, to kind of, because, again, I just felt like after you tried so many different things as a character, when are you going to finally have a match or moments that you can hang your hat on? I think this is one of those things that she can be proud of. And Paxley, again, she's only getting better. Like, say what you want. It's been kind of fun watching the roller coaster. You remember when Tatum was trying to be Ivy Niles' friend? we came all the way from trying to be Ivy's friend to, the weirdness with Lyra to where we are now. And, it's been a fun ride. So it's been kind of cool to watch her evolve. And we'll see, man. 2025 might be a championship year for Tatum. She's staying on this. Stay on this path.
Well, like I said, Paxley is maximising her minutes in NXT at this moment in time, and that's what's so important. Wendy, again, like you said, it's weird as well, because on Impact, the Rosemary kind of team ended, and Rosemary beat her in a singles match on Impact, and that's kind of done now. I might have seen a little bit more of that, but again, I think Tatum, like you said, definitely is the one to watch. Great stuff. Trick Williams called up Bubba Ray, who explained he beat down Ridge for his disrespect. Trick asked Bubba to team with him against Holland and Ethan Page on November 6th. He refused because he did not take an NXT superstar spot. yeah. That's why these legends come back.
Yeah. Come on, man. I'm supposed to believe that.
I'm sure he'll turn it down, and this is just a massive waste of time.
Yeah.
Ava talked with Rob Van Dam, another young up-and-comer, looks like. He promised to book him in something special. Tony D got a call from Nunzio, warning he was stepping into his territory for the next week. To be fair, though, it made sense, didn't it?
It made a lot of sense, right?
Heritage Cup, Charlie Dempsey versus Lexis King with William Regal. And Dempsey dominated King early and caught him with a butterfly suplex in round 1. Regal offered him brass nuts. King refused. I'm not my father, but was that Regal's best advice? Do you know what I mean? Take these. He said, no. Dempsey injured King's knee in the second round and then dominated the rest of the way. He finished it round 3 with another bridging butterfly suplex. Lexus did apologise, but I mean, it was just like, what's going on? Like, what are we watching now?
We gotta get rid of the cup, man. We just gotta get rid of it, because that great reputation the cup had is now relegated to storyline matches. How do you do a round match that is basically nothing but Lexis King's story of him just continuing to reject his father? And I don't know. I mean, I'm a fan.
If Lexis King was putting these performances, then I wouldn't want to be his father. Do you know what I mean? It's just so bland.
Yeah, man. I feel I feel for him because a lot of people gave him crap and just said, "Oh well, he's horrible. That's why AEW didn't care if he left and whoop whoop whoop." And I just thought it was tribalism stuff. And I'm not saying he is horrible, but I do realize that he does have limitations and like the limitations that, like you mentioned. And I'm not saying he's Ridge Holland unwatchable or like I don't think he gives you nothing because I thought when he was walking around being a douchebag, that actually made him interesting. He just when he wrestles.
They've
is
just
the
taken
problem.
everything interesting away from him.
Right.
Like,
now exactly. Kid. And now since he don't want to cheat, it's like, okay, what the hell? All right, so you're just some guy now. He's just some guy who got daddy issues. Okay, Brian, or whatever. Let's just move on.
Anyway, I'm just glad Christian's not around. That's all I'm going to say. So Lola Fights delivered a pre-take warning to Jada Parker, who responded with her own warning. That's lucky. Zariah destroyed Brindley Reese in a brutal display that ended with spear in F5. Again, Brindley Reese was in my mind the last update, and I think this is why, because she got fucking destroyed. But it was fun.
Fun.
It was. Then we see Fatal Influence, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade look to make a statement at the expense of Zariah. Instead, Kalani Jordan, Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, and Jordan Grace all arrived to start
what a team.
The fight stood a fanfare. I mean, you knew what I was doing whilst I was watching this, celebrating for people listening. But my God, what a lineup of women's talent and Kalani Jordan, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, you're 100% right, man. Just salivating too. Just like wow, you couldn't do nothing but just marvel. Like for a lot of reasons, for their talent and who they are as wrestlers, of course. But also just looking at it, like man, what a team, what a team, And like you mentioned, even with Kalani, I think she has potential, and that's like whenever you're young, you always ride that potential, and we just gonna go with that for now. But the rest of it, oh my God, what an all-star team! You can put. Come on, man, Stephanie, Julia, Zara. Oh my God! Which, by the way, you see a little bit of how much of a beast she is, and then you say, you know what? Let's add Jordan to that mix.
But
Come on,
this
man.
Is the thing. Like, I couldn't believe Zariah was bigger than Grace, and I was like, fuck me. And then I was like, I think Grace got one of the best pops as well. So again, it just shows you the kind of the respect they have. It's not just like they are stars in their own right, which we've been trying to do for so long, and again, it was just a moment. Unfortunately,
it was a great one.
Unfortunately, fan
and by the way, before you go, Jordan, by the way, I don't know what her deal is or when it's up. They're gonna probably back the Brinks truck. They're gonna brag. Oh man, she's gonna have so much money offered to her. Definitely from WWE, but I just wait. If Impact, I don't know what you do, man. I don't know how you do it. What negotiating Impact even has at this point because I just can see WWE right now. They already have that contract ready.
Well, unless they get like Jonathan Gresham, like a gun to his head, I don't know what Impact can do.
Yeah, what can they do?
There's not a lot. She said she lost her title at Bound for Glory after a year holding it.
Slamovich, which by the way,
yes,
awesome,
like you said. But Grace, it looks like deal might be up in January. So Rumble appearance and
Rumble.
But the thing is as well. With Julia there, with everybody else, like you said, it's just like take your pick, isn't it? Which one do you want to run with? That's why it's so great.
And Jordan's so good that honestly, she can usurp NXT. I'm not saying she don't have to do a little bit of something down there. She could just start the Rumble and be on Raw or SmackDown.
The fan favorite strategized for next week before Rhea Ripley arrived to wish them good luck. Later, Mummy was found bloodied and unconscious near her car. Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez were shown walking away from the scene, but she did go into the NXT car park, which basically is her own fault at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah, she should know. Like, she spent enough time in NXT to know. You do not want to get caught out there, man. So, and like I mentioned when I saw this, James, it didn't take Sean no time to give Liv Morgan, make Liv Morgan look decisive. One show and Liv Morgan looked like a killer. Look at that.
Yeah, and NXT was used to advance main roster stories as well. So again, This was a kind of really weird point, just showing how prominent the kind of women are in all the WWE at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
We got Kalani Jordan versus Nikita Lyons. Lyons looked to have the win until Rizzo distracted her. This allowed Jordan to duck the Lyons Raw and hit the split-legged moonsault to win. Afterwards, Rizzo attacked Lyons as official, trying to break them up. I can't wait for that matchup. Ridge Holland interrupted All Ego to call his shot for NXT Championship match. Bubba Ray took offense to Holland taunting and stormed to the ring. The Hall of Famer tried to talk some sense in Englishman, but the Hills teamed up with him. Trick made the save, and Bubba officially agreed to team with the NXT champion. Now,
what about that guy's spot?
I know. Well, I was going to ask you, what happened to that talent spot? And I guess we'll probably get to it with the match itself, but does this help Trick in any way? Time. I don't know. Like...
Oh my God, where are you at, Wesley? Come back and challenge for the title again. That's what I was thinking. Like, where are you, Wes? Can you come fight Trick? Can we get somebody? Oh my gosh, what do you mean? What it does? I mean, it don't do much for Trick, but I mean, it does give us a purpose outside of being in Philadelphia for this. How many ECW reunion shows has there been?
Honest to goodness. I mean, we talked about earlier, like,
at this point,
great DVDs, the rise and fall of ECW. We thought that'd be it, and since then, it's risen and fallen more times.
So many times. Oh my goodness! And I get it. Like, all right, you guys are going to the ballroom or whatever where ECW takes place. I get it. I get paying homage. Hell, a cameo would have been good enough for me. Just have some ECW levels pop up in the crowd and just do your thing. But going this far, I mean, I guess it's fine. I'm not one of those guys who's gonna complain because I don't mind the cameos or the references to the legend. And I can only imagine Bubba or some of the guys. And even Dawn Marie maybe talking to some of the people backstage or talking to the talent and giving advice. That's cool too. But yeah, I mean, what does it do for Trick? I mean, it gives him something to do that's not a title feud it's a great distraction on just how weak the men's title picture is right now. That's what it is.
Everything we're saying about the women's division is the opposite in the main men's division.
We are lacking right now.
It's a moment in time. Anyway, we'll move on. NXT Tag Team Championship, Fraction versus John Evans and Cedric Alexander. Evans was too much for Fraser and Axiom until Wesley distracted the young OG. The two brawled and Cedric
there you
go. Evans and he kept fighting backstage until officials broke up. Rob Van Dam told him that he'd been given a great idea for next week's NXT. What we didn't see is he come back with a couple of blunts, and that was his idea. But I think Avi's going to sit down with him and going to sort out what to do. So November 6th, then NXT takes it to the extreme. I was going to say this actually. It just reminded me. It's weird, like talk about ECW kind of reunions, that there's more ECW talent in better shape than WCW guys now. Which again, I don't know if that says more about the business of the late 90s, but weird. Like, yeah. Anyway,
it's very interesting. Very interesting that you point that out because it's, they were the guys that everybody said, were killing themselves and, whoop. And like you mentioned, a lot of those people are still doing their thing.
I guess violence and alcohol does make you live a long life. I guess.
Yeah.
Shows it.
Pot.
Yeah. I did like the ECW NXT intro, and we did start hardcore with Lola Vice and Jada Parker with special guest referee Dawn Marie. Vice had Parker trapped in a sleep until Parker blasts her with a brick. She followed, as you do, she followed up with a hypnotic to take the win. Dawn Marie didn't play in the decision at all, just kind of working as a standard referee. But this was a good way to start. And Lola and Jada, very good at what they do now.
Yeah, man, they're figuring something out. I think it's been a really interesting back and forth type of feud. That and I think they're in that tier that I would consider right under what I was talking about earlier. maybe you can throw Jada in that tier with Roxanne and the rest. But to be honest, I think they like you said, this was really cool. They showed off a growing chemistry that they seem to have, and like you mentioned, Dawn Marie was just there, I guess, for like nostalgia feel. Which again, great to see.
She looked
Dawn
great.
Marie, she looked good. Yeah, it looked great, and like I cannot complain about the seeing her there because it makes sense, especially from an ECW perspective. But yeah, man, this was a really good hardcore match. Jada shined again. She's one of those people who seem to be picking it up, and she's kind of like in that opposite standpoint of what I was talking about with Kalani. She's not really flashy. She doesn't have the gymnast crazy moves that Kalani would have, but as far as character, presence, and just belief in who she is, Jada Parker got that down. You know what I mean? You can just tell the confidence is there, and I think that's what makes her feel like way more of a future star right now than a Kalani is. You can see the difference between someone who got character, personality involved, and then they let the wrestling catch up versus someone who's great athletically, can wrestle, but has to work on the character. And I think they are a perfect example right now, in my opinion, of if you look at the trajectories of where they're going right now, it's a perfect example of what I think Kalani needs to work on.
Yeah, without a doubt. We see Ridge and Page looking up at the Rocky statue. I remember The Rock looking up at that when he returned in 2002. Fucking hell, mold. Backstage in front of Dion Lennox, Ashanti Lee Adonis and Carmen Petrovic continue to struggle to communicate. We've got more of that fun later. Lee attacked Rob Van Dam backstage after he gave veteran advice to Kalani Jordan for a match. We then get Wesley versus Javon Evans. Wesley looked poised to hurt Evans with a steel chair, but RVD arrived to distract him. Young OG capitalised with a springboard cutter and a 3.5-star frog splash, maybe, to be fair. Couple of things. I mean, Javon will try big things. And I also think RVD might be dyeing his hair. Don't know what you think about
that. You think? You think he's dyeing it? Anyway, yeah, no. Javon is a daredevil, so sometimes that's going to work out. Sometimes it's not, it's not going to be the cream. And but I do think him and Wesley did fine here. I think maybe I did write down here that if you're gonna do me like that, then make Rob old ass fight Wesley, because I am kind of frustrated with Wesley's trajectory since turning heel. Mostly because I just was hoping that if you're gonna do that, you're gonna take a character like him, a great babyface like that, and you're gonna turn him heel. I just was hoping that he would be able to pick up wins more, or be featured more, or be more important. I give it a little time because I know how things are. He's the guy that I used as an example to fight Trick, just because he's a great wrestler he's a great male wrestler who I think should be in that conversation now. But when you're losing to Javon, even with the RVD interference, and I'm just like, if we're not going to get an RVD match out of this, then why do Wesley have to lose? But anyway, it was still a good time. I'm not gonna complain. It was good for what it was. But yeah, man. Hopefully we can pick up the ball with Wesley at some point.
Yeah, without doubt. Lash legend Dakota Jackson told the Powers team that we're rooting against them. Julia and Stephanie teased fighting them. Ava announced return to Deadline, heading to Minnesota in December, including the Iron Survivor Challenge. Mr. Stone hates Philly. Luckily, Rhino made a surprise appearance to gore Mr. Stone. Later on, we saw Stevie Turner carry out Mr. Stone to the EMTs. Ava told Fraser and Axiom that she would address the state of the tag division next week. Maybe no surprise Rhino showing up, but I did get a pop with Stevie Turner carrying out Mr. Stone, and I don't know why.
Your favorite, Stevie Turner. Is she retired? Anyway, besides that, yeah, man, this was like great to see Rhino, as always. I do wonder, like you mentioned, he's another one of those guys who wrestled in that time. But to be fair, Rhino was kind of towards the end. Maybe that's why he stuck around so long, looking pretty much relatively the same. But yeah, man, it was great to see Rhino there. Like you said, maybe it wasn't surprising because it is Rhino and he's always kind of been around. But it's still cool to see him, man. It's always good to see Rhino. And Good moment. Yeah.
Well, it was always good to see Mr. Stone get hurt in it. And again,
That
he should
too.
be lucky his employment. Like you said,
Exactly.
how many updates have we done?
He survived almost everyone he's managed, by the way.
Bob Wagner's been gone for like 5 years. And
yeah.
It's like,
no, if you remember, I think he managed Chelsea like before she left. Chelsea has left and come back. And Stone is still here. So, yeah.
Well, Trick Williams and Bubba Ray versus All Ego and Ridge Holland. Bubba gave Booker a pair of glasses, which, again, was all right. And the match was okay. Ridge threw out every single trick, and it paid off as he managed to roll up Trick Williams for a surprise 3 count. So the worst has happened. Ridge's pinned Trick. But afterwards, Bubba made the save. Holland bailed while Trick and Bubba hit Page with the WhatsApp. Steve and Dudley arrived with a table to assist Trick and Bubba in blasting All Ego with a double chokeslam. I don't know what was worse, the result of the match or just how disconnected Devon and Bubba were. Because, if we ever get like that, man, I don't want to do it.
It's time to hang it up. It's time to hang it up for good. If we get that bad, man. Yeah. You make a great point about the Dudleys. I don't want to say that they were worse because I kind of expected it. Because again, they've been out, they've been done, they've been doing their thing in other ways. But I will say this match or this segment, in my opinion, should be summed up really simply to me, and that was from a tweet I saw. I'm gonna read it right now. Okay, yeah, you're gonna get a kick out of this. Someone said Ridge Holland and Bubba Ray Dudley is in one ring right now. I guarantee that this is going to be so unpleasant. That's it. That's all the person said. That's all the person said. So, yeah. That just lets you know right there just where people's expectations were going, before the match really even got going. And then we got it, and we saw exactly what we all expected, Yeah. So, yeah, it was, I guess, yeah, it was what it was. I'm just happy it's over.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate that Trick got pinned, but yeah, I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah, hopefully there's a, like we said, it might be dark at the moment, but by the next update, hopefully the sun will shine. Let's hope that. Nunzio and Tony Mamaluke confronted the family backstage. Nunzio challenged to Don. He announced Rizzo would fight Lyons next week. So the North American title, Tony D versus Nunzio. And Nunzio was completely outmatched. He put him away with a spine buster, and the two shook hands afterwards. But Nunzio did get a bit of comedy in, which I suppose was worth it. Sean Spears told Brooks Jensen he was happy with the Don's confidence, ready to challenge the champion. Lyons delivered a warning to Rizzo, and Mr. Regal put over Lexus King for telling No Quarter Catch Crew to come more than just Charlie Dempsey's group. That's your son!
That's what I'm saying. Father of the year, man. He's the father of the year. What a great dad.
I'm just shocked and appalled. Hopefully this can improve. It will improve, actually, because we've got Julia, Stephanie Vecca, Jordan Grace, Zariah, and, of course, Kalani Jordan. I'm going to get it right in a minute. Perez, Jade, and Fatal Influence. There's too many Jordans. Francine was shown watching in the audience. That's good. Grace got the biggest hot tag of the match, ran over all 5 women. Metaphor arrived to mock the field, but Judy and Vecca dived onto him. Zariah accidentally speared Grace, which even I went,
oh, it was great. That was so great.
Fuck. Zariah was the last woman standing, countering the Pop Rocks into an F5 to seal the win on Roxanne Perez. So, I tell you something, Rox needs to stop getting pinned. Otherwise, there's going to be so many number contenders. But this was just excellent.
Like, oh my goodness. I love it. And again, this is kind of similar to what I was saying about Stephanie. This is one of those times where even though, and I got this is the most credit I will give. And the reason why I'm not saying when you look at AEW roster and you just go off the names on that roster, I do think that's one of the best women's divisions in the world, if not the best. Same thing with WWE if you're going off the main roster. But the reason why NXT's women's division to me is just so much more special than both of them at this current moment is because even a match like this, think about it, James. How many times you seen a 10-person match and just knew immediately a 10-person tag was going to be a cluster? Like I just, yeah, this ain't gonna work. There'll be too much going on because usually a lot of times that's what happens. And I was so confident because I know how much effort they put into depicting the women's division, especially most of these women. I just knew that no, they're gonna make this work, and they went out there and they did, and it was a really, really great main event. It deserved its spot in the main event. Thank goodness you didn't let Ridge Holland and Bubba Ray go last. Uh, but I will say this again, like I said about Stephanie Valkyrie getting a chance to showcase for anybody who didn't get a chance to see Zarya at all before she got in WWE. This was a great moment because it was a great squash, a great way to show how dominant she can be. But this was a great showcase against credible talent and pinning the world champion, like you mentioned. Like there's gonna be so many number one contenders, and it's just really, really cool to me that that in this situation we kind of have that the way they're not only a new women debuting, but it's like 3 new women debuting, and they're all kicking ass and looking like credible threats to possibly lead this division. And it can only be one. So it just got me so excited for the many possibilities that we can have, not only with those 3, but then you add wild cards like Jordan Grace, but then you have the established greatness of Roxanne, and even with her new alliance with Cora and just being a good heel. So this was just really good, and a really another person. Even with weaving metaphor into it, you basically showcase the best NXT women's division has to offer. Pretty much right now, the best NXT has to offer, and I think that was the best part about this match, ending off the ECW type show they did.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, I'm going to elaborate more on the women's division in a second, but I mean, what were just your thoughts on just like the ECW kind of tribute shows it was in general? I mean, wasn't too bad, was it? If like I said, anything special apart from maybe the main event, and I'm really pleased the old fans, so to speak, appreciated the direction where we're going.
Yeah, I think it was a great intersection between the future and what we know, or like you said, history with ECW. They did a good job of weaving things in. Was it a little bit campy or kind of but that's kind of what NXT is. NXT can be like that, and I think they did a good job of just weaving NXT's identity and then kind of flavoring it up with a little bit of the throwbacks, a little bit of nostalgia with ECW. And I just think it's so cool. As much as I remember years ago giving AEW credit for kind of being great wrestling historian type of company because of how much work they tend to give talent that that you would not need to necessarily see anymore, and or like legends. I thought especially towards the end there with the old man, WWE really had a bad track record in my opinion of just kind of forgetting the past. And I think it's hella cool now that we've come so far in WWE to where NXT is the future, and they're we're welcoming not just the many Legends deals that Triple H has offered many people that we have seen WWE just not seem to want to mention anymore, but also just to see Francine or see some of these references, have WWE offering the Dawn Marie, who we haven't seen in years on WWE television, having them being able to just do that and kind of, like you said, tickle that nostalgia bone, but also introduce newer fans to the old stuff, but also kind of intertwine the old guys or older fans with the new. It's just expertly done, and it's just one of those things that kind of make me wish that WWE's been like this for so long, because just thinking about how great things could have been for a long time in WWE if they just had a better relationship than pulling out legends every now and then. If they just did stuff like this, tribute shows to the good old days, man. It's a great idea that someone had, and I really like that. And then they're doing a great job on the CW just being creative with NXT too so far. So we'll see how long that persists. But yeah, man, I thought it was a good idea, and it ended up being an overall fun time. And at the end of the day, you can't ask for much more.
No, without a doubt. And as you said with Havoc, you know, it had a good sized crowd, but this one in the kind of arena it was, you know, like I said, it brings that energy as well. But we're going to talk about the women's division because November 12th, we start with Julia and Stephanie Vaquer versus Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. And I tell you what, Legend and Jackson brought it, and, you know, they had a lot of maybe more, you know, what should I say? My words gone from me, but, you know, it wasn't a one-sided fight, shall we say. But we did see them go down in defeat. After the finish, Blake Howard asked Vaquer and Judy about the Iron Survivor Challenge. Both welcomed a chance to fight one another in that match. And we see a vignette with Jada Parker warned she would be the next Iron Survivor. So at this point, the Iron Survivor will be goated. Because, like you said, we've just seen the 5 women in the main event, or 10 women there. And we've already dreamed about, you know, 3 or 4 of them being involved. And again, the Iron Survivor seems to have come around at a perfect time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really got me interested in the men's when not from the perspective of I just know, like you mentioned, we already kind of got a feeling that this is perfect for the women's because we have so many contenders right now and just so many great talents. So, like you said, it's perfect time, and it's just like we mentioned in the men's, what are they going to do to make that one stack up? So I was interested in that, but I also, like you mentioned, James, was just like very proud of a metaphor here in this tag match against Julia and Steph. Again, they are measuring sticks in a sense to me of just even though they are work in progresses themselves in a sense, they're also the measuring sticks to me when it comes to just getting the technical expertise and just doing their thing wrestling wise. And like you mentioned, James, with their work in Saudi Arabia, just in general, Metaphor has done nothing but impress. I don't know how you cannot look at them and think about where we thought they were and where they are now, leaps and bounds above it, and one of the best in NXT. And I wouldn't mind if Lash or whatever decides to also be an Iron Survivor. But yeah, man, Jada Parker, Julia, Stephanie. I mean, I just love Julia and Stephanie being ready to fight again because that's kind of like where I know them from anyway, is being great rivals. The one or two times they fought. So to see them back on opposite ends would be cool, even though they make a really good team. So yeah, man, I'm just excited, man. You're 100% right. I think the Iron Survivors from a women's perspective and just like what we're possibly getting and like the fact that we all know the stakes and what this could mean going forward. I just can't wait to see how it turns out because you pretty much hit it. We both kind of have said it in multiple ways. We almost have the perfect number of women that we're looking for in this position, pretty much, or right around that tier position of championship level. So it's just we're overloaded, man. At this point, we have women on the undercard. Like at this point, NXT could be an all women show if they wanted to.
Yeah. and again, and we wouldn't mind. Without doubt about that.
No.
We got the first Iron Survivor qualifier with Cora Jade versus Soharuka. An accidental connection on the turnbuckle with a previous injured knee set up Jade for a soul snatcher and a shocking loss. Like, we're thinking
really
about everybody,
fast.
and like you said, I didn't think about Soharuka in that lineup. No offense to her, and Cora Jade being knocked out.
Yeah, I agree. Just like you mentioned, I mean, Ruka, but she's also someone I would say in that Lola and Jada tier of right there where I can see why she would be there because she's so exciting in the ring. So I get it, but like you're 100% right. We didn't even mention her so far in this show, so that just kind of shows you how deep we are right now in the women's division in so many ways. So, but yeah, for her to beat Cora, who returned, and like you would assume that Cora Jade would be one of the people possibly vying for a spot in that match, and to lose like she did so quick was definitely shocking. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they got a lot more to do with where they think she's at as far as her injury, or if that's just one of those situations where right now Saul Ruker just seems to be the one that they trust to put in this spot right now instead of throwing Cora Jade back into a match like that so soon. But we'll see. We'll see how it turns out for her.
Yeah, without a doubt. Backstage, Brendan Reese and Dion Lennox encouraged Karen Petrovich team with Adonis for a mixed tag match next week. Ava advised the tag division to step up and earn a shot at the NXT tag titles, naming no one as next contenders yet. That's great. Josh Briggs, though, introduced pro wrestling knowers Yoshiki Inamura as his new tag team partner to Ava. Monty, I know you knew Japan, but have you heard of him?
I've seen a little bit of what he can do, and he's pretty good. But I think this is kind of like the equivalent of kind of what we got when we sent Tavion Heights and Briggs to Noah. I think this is kind of like a reverse where they're kind of sending someone to NXT kind of on a, I don't want to say excursion because I'm not sure exactly the details because I've heard different things. I've heard that he would be in WWE for an extended period of time or like an excursion, but I also heard rumors that depending on how things go, he could come up through WWE and leave to go to Noah at a different time, which is something I've never heard of WWE agreeing to. But it would be interesting to see how it turns out. So it's been very, very uncharted waters for me as someone who's a fan of Japanese wrestling, and to just see that so far how great things seem to be between Noah, even though it is rumblings in Noah that some people don't necessarily like the relationship with WWE just because they're just not sure of WWE's intentions. And I get it because again, for a long time, WWE didn't work with Japanese promoters, didn't work with anyone. So to see them actually have a Noah talent possibly on excursion in America, so that means they have someone that they're helping develop that they might not even have a benefit for, you know what I mean, going forward for themselves. That is just insane to me. So we'll see how it turns out and just how far it goes and if they do have a benefit for him and just how good he is. But from what I've seen, he has potential. I definitely think he has a look. He's a strong guy, and I've watched him work a little bit as a young lion, but not much outside of this. So I don't want to act like I know a lot about him.
No, it was more than me, mate. So there we go. Thank you for that. Ava was busy as well. The general manager gave Eddie Thorpe an Irons 5 a challenge qualifier next week. Nathan Fraser told Axim he had an Irons 5 qualifier. Axim was furious. And again, Fraxim kind of going underneath the radar a little bit because WWE hate tag teams.
Right.
But, again, we've seen a little bit there. OTM also took offence and almost came to blows with the family. We see Irons 5 a qualifier. Wesley beat Cedric Alexander. Sean Spears found Tony D at his restaurant and challenged him to put his North American title on the line against Brooks Jensen. What a fucking waste. Zariah delivered a warning to anyone on their way to the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. And then we got a Trick Woody promo with Andre Chase interrupting Trick to make clear he wants the next shot at Ridge Holland. And Trick was ready to offer Chase an NXT title match. Why?
What an idiot.
Why?
What an idiot.
Easy win. This caused Holland to march out. Trick made a number one contendership match next week between Chase and Holland. Holland also wanted Chase U to end if he defeated the Professor. Duke, Riley, and Thea questioned Chase's decision backstage, but he promised he would win big. He has got, Monty, the worst gambling addiction we think we've seen on wrestling because he does it all the time. Come on.
He has the worst gambling. I agree. One of the worst addictions ever. And then also, I must repeat what Zack Sabre Jr. once told me in a beautiful New Japan promo many, many years ago. I don't know how many. It might not have been that as long as I just said. But he said, wrestlers are dumb. And then, as he always say, like he said, you always see a wrestler just standing there waiting on someone to moonsault him. It's because he's an idiot. Just move out of the way. That's what Zach said. And I think this is a perfect example of it because not only is Chase dumb for gambling on a guy he hasn't been able to beat yet, he just got put in the ambulance. Not his guy. Not only that, he also Trick Williams is dumb because you are giving number one contendership matches unprovoked. I know you're a babyface, but why? Not only did no one earn it, did we really think the Chase? Oh my God, James! Do you mean to tell me the Andre Chase, the Andre Chase and Ridge Holland feud was one of those right around the number one contendership for the title type feuds? Are you kidding me, Jay?
Maybe they said to Trick, you have to challenge the guy that lost at Halloween Havoc. And instead of going over Femi, he was like Andre Chase. Like, you know, maybe.
There you go. Thank you. Please
doubt.
give me some type of logic, because I will not believe that was always the plan. But okay, whatever. Whatever, man. Like you mentioned, though, Andre Chase. My God, what an idiot.
Don't know. Oh, no. What an end. We're going to get there, though. Nikita Lyons beat Adriano Rizzo. Afterwards, Rizzo blasted Lyons with a crowbar and was like, that's the end. Yeah, all right. We'll just do that in the first place. Iron Survivor qualifier John Evans versus Lexis King. King got frustrated late in the match after giving Evans too much leeway. The young OG took advantage with a super kick and a corner springboard corkscrew. Dante Chen, Hank Waller, and Tank Ledger gave King kudos for doing things right, but Gallus mocked him for failing. When you get to a point where those 6 guys are talking about you, you know you're in trouble. Right?
If I'm Lexis King, I go home from the NXT tape and just looking in the mirror. Have I hit rock bottom?
Dante Chen is giving me advice.
Dante Chen, Hank and Tank. I got Gallus laughing at me. Gallus can't even get booked, but they're laughing at me.
Been on TV 8 months, and yeah.
Wow, man, wow.
And then the main event was the Women's North American Championship, Fallon Henley versus Kalani Jordan. And they went to war in a more competitive rematch from Halloween Havoc. Probably helped that the other 2 Fatal Influence weren't actually in the match. But they were in a way, because the interference saved the day and set up a famous for the win by Henley. And then a brawl broke out between NXT tag teams, ending the show in chaos because why not? You know, the tag team division, I guess, not doing much. But we see Fallon Henley getting a first defense. Will this be her only defense? Might be the question. I'm sure there'll be more.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't give you the future about her only. Maybe she'll get a couple more. But this was what it was. I thought they did really good with what they were given. Like you mentioned, much better than the Halloween Havoc showing. But at the same time, I think we all kind of knew the finish, and I think that kind of did a disservice too, because like as much as they weren't involved for a bulk of it, we all kind of knew they would play a factor at some point, and they did. And you know, who doesn't like a good old brawl besides me? Yeah, so.
I tell you what, the amount of brawls and security, just in wrestling in general, at this moment,
have you noticed I stopped complaining about it, bro?
Honestly, AEW got involved, and then since then, it is just ridiculous levels of just shit going on. And again, I start the final episode of NXT November 19th with the Iron Survivor qualifier, and a chaotic scene broke out. You know what I mean? Like, Fraser and Eddie Thorpe, but all the major tag teams brawling around the ring. Fraser hit Eddie Thorpe with a Phoenix Splash to win. But later, Eddie Thorpe was frustrated about his loss to Fraser, but GM Ava would not reverse the decision, which just might change the attitude of Mr. Nice Guy, and it is needed at this point.
Listen to what we're saying, James. You see how many people... That's another... You know what? Thinking about Eddie just made me realize that I hate this Lexis King storyline even more. We need heels, Lexis. We need bad guys, people we actually believe in. Ridge Holland cannot be your best heel, okay? I'm sorry. And that's all, and that's where I leave it in that regard. Please turn heel, Eddie. I'm begging you. Axiom, anybody, turn on somebody. Wes Lee, come back. We need heels. We are like Trick Williams is desperate for somebody, some dancing partner that's a bad guy to be worthy, and that's what I'll say about Eddie Thorpe right now.
Yeah. Well, backstage Inamura did not understand Lexis King talk about proving himself. But I don't. Don't worry, it's not Japanese or anything.
Oh God, Lexis.
He told Brooke Jensen he loved NXT's kind of crazy. Iron Survivor qualifier, Stephanie Vaquer versus Jada Parker, and Parker pushed Stephanie to her limit, but Lola Vice came out to distract her with brick in hand. This allowed La Primera to hit the package net breaker for the win. But again, Monty, this is, like you said, people might have heard us say this before, but not only Is it advancing the main storyline with Stephanie, but obviously a second or third feud, not even for a championship at this time, between Lola and, of course, Jada even.
Right, and again, it's what you want across the board when it comes to feuds and factions. You don't need a belt. Sometimes you can just have a really good blood feud that really stretches, and that's what this feels like it's being for Jada and Lola. And it was a great timely type of interference. I think Jada before that though were really doing a good job in the match with Stephanie. And again, I keep saying this, and I know maybe people are going to be sick of me talking about how good I believe Jada Parker is, but I'm just really impressed. Like, James, so far, especially with all the women Sean has kind of thrown at us at a crazy amount of time, you really don't know who's going to swim, who's going to make it. And Jada, so far, from the moment, like I mentioned, she's supposed to be still, I guess, involved with OTM. But who gives a damn about OTM compared to Jada Parker at this point? Like, it's like she is leaps and bounds beyond, and like in the ring, sticking with Stephanie the way she did, in an impressive showing. Like I mentioned, we talked about the Roxanne. She's leading the charge, in my opinion, in this Lola feud, or at least her and Lola are doing a good job of playing off each other and keeping this long-standing feud interesting. So, yeah, kudos, man. This is, like you mentioned, another good match and another good storyline beat to whenever we finally get that last payoff. I don't know what you can do though, honestly, after you get hit in the head with a brick. What stipulation are they going to get? By the way, what next stipulation can they even do?
Yeah, well, that's just saying. So we'll find out what happens there. But in the vignette, Julia talked about what the Beautiful Madness meant in Japan, what will translate for success in WWE. These are vital, these little vignettes, explaining Julia to maybe a bigger audience and getting them more confident with the WWE way as well. And unfortunately, mocked the women's division until Sarah Ruka interrupted a beach vacation. All right. Tony D beat Brooks Jensen. After the match, Spears shook hands with the Don as a distraction as Jensen hit Tony D. The Don had to be held back by officials. I tell you what, I'm glad Tony D's improved because, Sean Spears can't be the only one that I kind of like out of the entire feud. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough. Bruce Jensen, North American champion, man. What you thinking? No,
it gets worse.
Not thinking about it all? Okay.
No, it gets worse. Because we got Ashanti Lee Adonis and Carmen Petrovich airing their dirty laundry with Dion Lennox and Brindley Reese. Adonis distracted Reese and got slapped for his trouble, but allowed Petrovich to knock out Reese with a roundhouse kick for the win. And the referee interrupted a near steamy scene between Petrovich and Adonis after the win. I mean, it's no Femi and Lions, but it will do. Speaking of, they almost got into it backstage, but Nikita Lyons was yelling at him and telling him that he didn't text her back.
Didn't text her back.
Bitch. So we've got that.
Which, by the way, I just want to say this. I don't want to over Femi this podcast, but man, is she just such an irrational person at this moment because he didn't text back. Why are you mad? I didn't reply back. Like, what are you mad at, Carmen? Anyway, besides that moment right there, I could care less about their relationship as much as I do love it for Ashanti because it do kind of help his character, even though I think we all know kind of how this is gonna end. There's no way somebody who was hollering as many women as he was not gonna get in trouble. I can already see how this ends. Most like we'll see. Maybe it turned into something funny like Dexter and Indy, but I doubt it. But what I will say is that Petrovic was one of those women who I thought was improving in a sense wrestling wise and was going to be in that tier of women in the Iron Survivor. But looking at where her and Nikita is now, as you can see, it's a very defined line. Or if you're down there with the Brindley Reeses, you ain't in the Iron Survivor match right now. Yeah. So, we'll give it time. We'll see where she at in a few months. But yeah, man, this is fine though. I don't think it's bad. It's fine.
Well, someone that was in the Iron Survivor challenge was Ren Sinclair. Unfortunately, it was against Araya. I mean, Charlie Dempsey did his best to coach up Sinclair, but to no avail.
Don't do so much.
Spear with F5 sealed the victory. Pretty dominant. Fatal Influence delivered a warning to the women's division. No one could match them. Henley offered an open challenge. And guess what, everybody? Chaos broke out. Yeah, chaos.
Yeah.
With the likes of Lash Legend, Jacoba Jackson, Rizzo, Lyons headed to the ring to answer the call. Well, I say headed to the ring. Most of them kind of stopped and fought with each other rather than actually making to the ring. But luckily, Tatum Paxley was one to get Henley first, and she fucking thoroughly laid out the champion. Now, I don't care if she's only featured twice or 3 times in this update. Tatum Paxley and Fallon Henley, I'm interested.
Tatum Paxley should win. And I'm just say that right now.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it.
She should, screw it. She should win the belt. Even though I guess maybe it'll be a little too presumptive, but no, she should win. And I just leave it at that, honestly. And as far as Fatal Influence goes, yeah. You know, I'll say this. This segment has been done a million times, and they just need to stop trying to redo what I could have swore Javon Evans did once when he flipped in the ring. Like, this is just a reskin of that when Javon Evans kind of beat, or like, I think, Nathan Frazier beat everybody to the ring one time for an open challenge, and and so, yeah, it's a similar thing. So I don't mind it, but you're 100% right, James. You're just like, man, all right, you don't have anything going. I'm going to give everybody as much TV time as possible. Time for a pointless fight.
It's like on your marks is what the segment is called. You know, right. Where's everybody on your marks? Get set, everybody.
Right.
We got Tony D demanding a shot at Sean Spears next week, putting the North American Championship on the line. Again, Monty, like you said, wrestlers are dumb. Should be the other way around.
So stupid.
All Ego from Page promised to win the Iron Survivor Challenge. Axiom told Fraser that Page would lose. Fraser like, no, I don't think he will. No, he's really good. And Axiom's like, no, I'm pretty sure. But how would you know? Well, Page will be fighting Axiom next week. And I know we need a heel in Page, but I wouldn't mind Axiom getting involved in this because, again, he's been in Iron Survivor before, but even that interaction with Fraser would be more interesting than anything in the tag division.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the real point. Like, I think just having them in that match, being competitive, possibly coming to blows at one point in time because they both want to win, that'll be some really interesting stuff, you know. And so I would definitely entertain it, even though I definitely think Ethan Page is probably going to do it. But, yeah, I think that would probably be the way more interesting route. Because you're 100% right. At this point, it's just Axiom and Frazier and everyone else. And I think at this point, all the other tag teams are so just a far away in quality compared to them to where it's like they're just waiting for them to break up.
Yeah.
They're not going to lose. They need to break up to lose.
But the thing is, though, and again, I think we can take solace in the fact of there is no one there. And if Fraxium were to lose the tag titles to whoever it was, then, again, that feud... I mean, like you said, OTM versus fucking Gallus for the tag titles, or... do you know what I mean? You know...
Oh, my gosh, what a match.
No, but, you know, there's nothing at the moment. So,
So put them in there. And why not? Yeah. And then we need the depth in the world title picture. Because Nathan Frazier or Action will be perfect for the title picture right now.
We are literally getting to a point. We're going to round out NXT, but I think that's the thing at the moment. How good the women's division is and how lacking maybe everything is. But we don't know. It might improve in a number one contendership match for the NXT title. Rich Holland versus Andre Chase. Oh, no. Well, NXT aired 2 vignettes highlighting Chase U's history and what it meant to be a professor. Holland promised to end Chase U by the end of the night just because, well, I guess he wants to, you know. Trick joined commentary to watch this closely. The crowd was flooded with Chase U shirts. Either they are all up-and-coming wrestlers or they hand out Chase U t-shirts to begin with. That's all I'm saying. Chase nearly got the win of the Chase U stomps and a set-out slam, But the problem was, no one knew Andre Chase's finisher. So we just didn't know. We didn't know it was going to happen. Ridge
I
grabbed
think
the
I know
chair.
why, by the way.
Yeah, he grabbed the chair
Go ahead.
to distract the referee, used the opportunity to low blow Chase and hit the Redeemer. However, Duke Hudson pulled the official out the ring. And he got sent through the stage in one of the weakest spears through a barrier.
Nothing ever go right for him, man.
Riley Osborne jumped an Englishman who then got thrown onto the exposed concrete. Well, we think he did.
Nice.
He missed it. This motivated Chase even more to lose because the second Redeemer won the match and ended Chase U in its current form. Afterwards, Chase looked forlornly at all his students. Now, I don't know if it's the end of Chase U because they've done us so many fucking times. But if it was going to, then it had to be Duke, didn't it? To be either the Ridge in this situation or the one that actually cost Chase, you know?
I'm glad you said that. I know people who may not have been watching NXT as long, they may not care or may not even notice that that's what it is. But for people like us who've had to slave through every storyline they've tried to put us through when it comes to Chase U, you know, and I'm somebody who, if you remember, my disposition about Chase U was a lot more positive in the beginning. I used to chuckle at the vignettes, and I got a kick out of Andre. I thought he had I thought I could see the value in him as a wrestler. But oh my goodness, as time went on, and we just kind of sat through feud after feud, and you know, whether or not Thea Hale was going to be a good student or act out and be a bad student, and JC Jane was there, and oh my goodness, he gambled, chased you away. Just think about everything we've been through. And just for us to not have Duke Hudson, the one who we originally all figured would be the downfall of Chase U, not be the downfall, and it actually is Andre Chase himself, like you mentioned, failing to gamble once again and just not being good enough in the end. It's just like, I 100% agree. And even if not, at least let Duke, in my opinion, build himself up to where he feels like the guy. Why the hell is Ridge Holland the one gaining anything out of this? Like you mentioned, Duke should have been, if he's going to be the villain, let him be one of the biggest villains coming out of this and actually be in the title picture now, or whatever you want to do. But like the fact that it's not Duke gaining anything from it, but it's Ridge Holland, someone who, at the end of the day, you can't tell me otherwise. I think we've both seen enough. Duke is way better than Ridge Holland. He's always had a lot more to give than what we've seen Ridge Holland give as a big guy. I'm not gonna act like he's I'm not gonna say he's Will Ospreay, like Duke isn't Will Ospreay, but he damn sure ain't Ridge Holland. So
yeah, and he's not been given a chance here. And the thing is, without the Chase U, then what he just becomes what he became before. And again, there's no development. It's the same thing with Thea Hale. Does she then just stick with the same gimmick? Again,
what does she do?
You know what I mean? Turning on Chase U would have given a little bit of development. Osborne, I mean, Riley's all right. Like he's going to do bits and pieces, isn't he? You know, so.
But he hadn't really established himself a character either. So he actually got a fresh canvas to kind of build off of. To be fair for him, but like you mentioned, everybody else is just like, what do? We just start over? Do you know? Is Thea Hale got a team with Brindley Reese and just be excited? Yeah. Blonde,
unless they carry on Chase U without RJ Chase and still try and do it. But again, I just think from what happened on NXT, that's it. That's him done.
Yeah, it's probably it. And then also, I want to say this too. Like you mentioned, James, if it's one moment where you just like, yep, the crowd be in on some of these angles, it was when everybody was so shocked. They were more shocked than when Undertaker lost to Brock. You can compare those moments if you just look at the crowd and the way they were acting. Just think about the noise that you still heard at WrestleMania and then NXT when Chase loses. Like, oh my God, I can't believe Andre Chase loses all the time. What do you mean? What are we talking about? But anyway,
he's not won 2 years, but
right.
But this is what I'm saying. We've come to the end of the update, and of course we're heading to Deadline, which is set up. I mean, I think there's one participant maybe in the women's to come with the men's, but of course we'll go into that with Deadline as we approach it next month. So basically, I want to get your thoughts on NXT now. And I think we've hit, from what I'm hearing, we both agree how good the women's division is going. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on NXT from Havoc, like I said, to this point?
Yeah, man. Like you said, the women's division real simple, man. They got like an undercard where I think is doing good. Trying to establish themselves at least. Like you got the Ren Sinclair, you have other characters that are just trying to do something. Then you have that mid tier where you got the Lola Vices and the Jada, and then you have the Iron Survivor Challenge, and of course our champion at the top, and just kind of like the contenders that make that up, and just again they just so well done. And I think that's the shining star right now of what NXT has going on. And I just think right now what we need to do as viewers and people who want to see NXT thrive, we have to find a way to get the men's division at a comparable level. Even if it's not on that level, it has to be at least comparable. We even mentioned it, the men's tag division. At this point, outside of Fraxium, you might as well give those belts after they give it up or turn on each other. You might as well give up those belts and just let the women have tag belts. That would be way more interesting right now because they actually have divisions and many women who can fill that void. And when it comes to tag team wrestling on the roster, and then when you think about what we have in the world title picture. Oh my goodness. Even the North American picture, in a sense, is kind of suffered. I know we're waiting on Obafemi to get back involved and get a storyline. I know some other guys have been in and out, like I mentioned with Wesley, he's in the Iron Survivor, so maybe he's gonna be involved. We know we got from Ethan Page. Like I know we have people in these spots, but it's just like we mentioned kind of throughout this entire show. Something is missing there. And I think what it is, outside of an Ethan Page, and maybe, and I know Obafemi is probably going to be our end game. Who do we have that's a strong enough heel right now, or could have the potential to be a strong enough heel to get us through these few months until we get to that inevitable, possible Obafemi Trick Williams clash that I think me and you both probably think that's probably where we're going to end up. I don't know. I could be wrong about if you think that, but like that's kind of where I think we know. As far as if they're done with Oba in the North American division, he's probably it's time for him to battle Trick. And how we're gonna get to that point? How do we change the characters? How do we get maybe Alexis King or even like we mentioned with Eddie Thorpe or many guys, the potential guys, who is even remotely close to where we can build up and get out of this cycle. I get it. They worked hard to try to, and I give them credit. They've done everything you could possibly do for Ridge Holland, in my opinion, to try to make him feel like a threat. The only other thing that they could do would be the worst possible outcome, and then just go ahead and let them beat Trick, which I think no one can see, and I don't think they would be delusional enough to try to force Ridge Holland to that extent. But that's pretty much it. I don't know where we are in the men's divisions in a lot of ways, but I think most importantly, or at least most urgently, after this Ridge Holland feud, we need to get Trick Williams someone compelling enough in the ring and on the microphone as a heel to make us care about those title pictures. Because even with Tony D right now, we got Brooks Jensen right now lining up for Tony D. So it's like, we're even in both divisions right now, we're lacking credible bad guys, especially without Obafemi being a main focus.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think, again, you could switch Tony Hill and maybe put him up with Trick, but again, are we really going to think he's going to take his mantle? I like the women's tag idea. Give them the tag titles and let Fraser and Axiom warm up the North American title. Or let's see Charlie Dempsey do something more than just rolling his eyes, or just a quick match. Like, we need more development as well. And I think that's a shame because the men's division at the moment, I think, not suffering, but it's just because of how all-encompassing and how powerful the women's roster is. And if that's the case, and like I said, you need to just go with it 100%. Even if it's a case of, we'll only have one men's match because, again, it's trying to find that balance, and at the moment, I think that's what's missing, isn't it?
I agree. That's exactly what's missing. You brought up Charlie Dempsey. I think that was a great reference. It reminds me back to NXT UK and when he was kind of like stretching people out or, doing submission holds way past the tap out. Like we need that mean streak. We need somebody who feels like they can hurt someone, but actually be compelling, not in a Ridge Holland type of way. And again, I just feels like if you wanted to name this episode something, it would just be like, fuck Ridge Hollins, I feel like right now. But I'm not even trying to kill him. It's not so much his fault as much as him being so prominently featured just showcases the weaknesses right now the NXT men's division have.
Yeah. And again, this is not to be too depressing for future listeners, but in the women's division, once Julia and, like I said, Stephanie and Jordan and all start moving up, then you're going to find that again, and hopefully the women that can then step up, So again, you can't take out Ilya Dragunov and Carmella Hayes out of the men's division and expect them to, survive.
To be the same quality.
To be in the rude health as it was. But I think that's it. And again, like we said, we'll focus on the positives instead of negatives, and hopefully by deadline, like you said, if the men's deadline can steal the show and we get a number contender out of that, whether it be Wesley, whether it be someone else, then at least we'll have somewhere to go towards, like I said, the big shows, which will be like Stand and Deliver, of course, ages away.
And I don't want to depress anybody either. Like it's still a good show, and that's what I want to say. NXT also is so good to me because even with what I just said, when we have a clear distinction between the quality of the men's division and the women's division is so good and so well booked from a storyline perspective, no matter where you look at, to where it's still very compelling week to week, which I think is really, really cool. Because how many companies can we say, or how many promotions or brands can we say, when the men's division is down, the women, like you have a women's division so strong that you still want to come back and watch every week?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you said it as well, that you and I wouldn't have a problem if NXT was just focused on the women's division. Is how hot and good it is now. But that is it. Like I said, the next time we're there will be Deadline. But don't forget, we're across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, the WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, where are you?
At mine, Monty Pod, like you mentioned, on Twitter still, like you mentioned in your banner. I'm at Your Highness Monty, on Blue Sky. So just type in Monty, Your Highness, or whatever. It's YOUR Highness this time. So, definitely you can add me on Blue Sky. I do tweet a little bit there, off and on, or whatever we call Blue Sky. I don't know what they called it. But yeah, man, that's where you can find me. And whenever I do anything new, hopefully on the Twitter account especially, but on Blue Sky and on both of my accounts, that'll be where you can find the links to that.
Yeah, the Double also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email to doublepodcast@gmail.com. And YouTube, Double Podcast, same time on YouTube to do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode is AEW Full Gear, or as I like to call it, Murder Ball, because I don't think there's a week that goes by that I've not seen attempted murder. But again, I'm not shitting on AEW here. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, you were hitting it right on the nail, to be honest.
No, seriously, I've got a list of incidents that I will.
It's at least attempted murder, guaranteed.
Yeah, no, I have got a few. But until then, I've been James Rowlands. I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, again, thank you for joining me for another update.
No problem. Anytime.
And thanks for listening, everybody. And bye.